Oh, nice. Oh, and a sentry. Oh, and another one. Oh, I'm on a roll, yeah. Hey everybody, Boresight here. Today I'd like to go over my favorite SMG in Battlefield 1 at the moment, the Automatico M1918 Storm. Now I say at the moment because I haven't unlocked the Hellriegel 1915 factory variant just yet, and well, I've heard great things about it. So until then, as it stands, the Automatico M1918 Storm is my favorite go-to gun in the assault class. Now there are many reasons why it is, but before we begin, I'd like to first briefly go over some of the weapon's history. The Beretta Model 1918, or the Automatico M1918 Storm as depicted in Battlefield 1. It's a submachine gun that entered service in 1918 with the Italian Armed Forces. Designed initially as a semi-automatic rifle, the weapon comes with an overhead inserted magazine, an unconventional design based on the simplicity of allowing a spent round to be replaced using gravity alone. The gun was made from half of a Villa Perosa aircraft submachine gun, and as such it can be considered to be the first submachine gun issued to and used by the Italian Armed Forces, and quite possibly the first SMG to be used as a general issue combat weapon altogether. Alright, now for the in-game variant. There are a few factors that make this one my favorite. The main being the sheer amount of lead that this thing can put down range is astonishing. At 900 rounds per minute, it's really quite something if you take into account the time period in which this game is trying to depict. I mean, after all, bolt-action rifles were the norm back then. This high RPM really comes in handy, considering the fact that due to the servers being located on other continents, I'm forced to play with a ridiculously high ping of over 200 milliseconds. So that RPM does help me mow down enemies before they can start bouncing around. I find that where this gun shines brightest is in its hipfire accuracy. Before I unlocked the Storm variant, I think it was at Assault Kit level 4, I was never able to gun down people so easily in tight spots as what I can do with the Storm variant. The hipfire accuracy is identical to the aiming down sights accuracy, or commonly referred to as ADS. So it does really well. It's got an upward pull of 0.308 degrees and an equal pull of 0.28 degrees to the left and the right. Now the insane RPM does come with some drawbacks, the main one being the recoil. However, if you tap fire, you can manage it quite easily. I could best describe it as the AEK of Battlefield 1. That gun was and still is a beast at close to medium range in Battlefield 4. The Automatico unfortunately only has a magazine size of 25 rounds. So at 900 rounds per minute, those rounds aren't gonna last you very long. And so you'll find yourself spending a decent amount of time reloading. So pick your targets wisely, as you may struggle to kill more than 2 enemies with one mag before switching over to your secondary. Try not to spray and pray, burst fire, and make sure that you always get that quick reload off by reloading before the last chambered round is fired. In doing so, this will reduce your reload speed from the empty reload of 2.8 seconds to the chambered reload speed of 2.1 seconds. Now, it might not sound like much of a difference, but trust me when I say that all of those milliseconds count when you're in the thick of it. Due to the fact that this is a submachine gun, the damage drop-off is quite severe. It starts off at 23 damage and rapidly descends to 12 damage by the time the engagement distance is upwards of 38 meters. So you're always going to want to close the gap and get in your enemy's face as often as possible. Now, I have been able to get a few kills at medium to longish range, however it does involve a lot of missing and wasted ammo, so I can't say that I would recommend using this weapon outside of its effective range. So always aim for those close quarters engagement where your weapon would naturally excel. The muzzle velocity isn't the greatest, sitting at 380 meters per second, so in most situations you're gonna have to lead your targets in order to make sure that they kind of run into your bullets, and naturally you'll have to lead more the further out the engagement distance becomes, as the rounds obviously need to travel further. If I can do it with such a high ping, then I'm sure that most people with acceptable latency would be devastating on the battlefield with this weapon. From what I've seen, you only have access to 2 sights on the Automatico M1918 Storm variant. That's the default iron sights and the peep sight. Personally, I prefer the peep sight. I find that due to the fact that you have this magazine well obstructing your view already on the top of the weapon, it makes it so much easier to track targets with the peep sight instead, as obviously it doesn't get in the way nearly as much as the iron sights do. Lastly, I want to go over equipping the bayonet. Now, fair enough, it does look cool, and in some instances being able to perform the melee charge takedown could save your life. However, I find that the trade-off just isn't worth it. When you equip the bayonet, in essence it adds weight to your weapon, which in turn causes your soldier to raise his weapon to aim down sights slower. At least that's the logic that I think DICE has implemented here. I find that more often than not, it's normally the guy that raises his weapon and fires first that wins. Having that increased time thrown on really leaves you at a disadvantage, so I always run without the bayonet to get the reduced aiming down sight speed advantage. Well guys, that's about it for today, so please feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you love it like myself? Do you perhaps feel that this one just doesn't do it for you? Anyways, if you enjoyed my video, please don't forget to like it and subscribe for future content. Until next time guys, take care of yourselves and have a chilled one.